The History of the First Calendar by Anonymous. Madam, I am the son of a sultan. My father had a brother who reigned over a neighboring kingdom. 52 his son, my cousin, and I were nearly of the same age. I went regularly every year to see my uncle, at whose court I amused myself for a month or two, and then returned home. On one occasion I arrived at my father's capital, where, contrary to custom, I found a numerous guard at the gate of the palace. They surrounded me as I entered. The commanding officer said, "Prince, the army has proclaimed the Grand Vizier Sultan instead of your father, who is dead, and I take you prisoner in the name of the new Sultan." This rebel vizier had long entertained a mortal hatred toward me. When I was a boy, I loved to shoot with a crossbow. Being one day upon the terrace of the palace, and a bird happening to come by, I shot but missed him, and the ball by misfortune hit the vizier, who was taking the air upon the terrace of his own house, and put out one of his eyes. He never forgave me, and as opportunity offered, made me sensible of his resentment. But now that he had me in his power, he came to me like a madman, and thrusting his finger into my right eye, pulled it out, and thus I became blind of one eye. His cruelty did not stop here. He commanded the executioner to cut off my head, and leave me to be devoured by birds of prey. The executioner conveyed me to the place of execution to complete this barbarous sentence, but by my prayers and tears I moved the man's compassion. "Go," said he to me, "get you speedily out of the kingdom, and never return, or you will destroy yourself and me." I thanked him, and as soon as I was left alone, 53 comforted myself for the loss of my eye by considering that I had very narrowly escaped a much greater evil. Being thus surrounded with sorrows and persecuted by fortune, I had recourse to a stratagem, which was the only means left me to save my life. I caused my beard and eyebrows to be shaved, and putting on a calendar's habit, I passed, unknown by any, out of the city. I avoided the towns till I arrived in the empire of the commander of the faithful, the renowned Caliph Harun al-Rashid, when I ceased to fear. I resolved to come to Baghdad and throw myself at the feet of this great monarch. I shall move him to compassion, said I to myself, by the relation of my uncommon misfortunes, and without doubt he will take pity on a persecuted prince, and not suffer me to implore his assistance in vain. In short, after a journey of several months, I arrived today at the gate of this city, into which I entered at dusk, and as I entered another calendar came up. He saluted me and I him. "You appear," said I, "to be a stranger as I am." "You are not mistaken," replied he. He had no sooner returned this answer than a third calendar overtook us. He saluted us, and told us he was a stranger newly come to Baghdad, so that as brethren we joined together, resolving not to separate from one another. It was now late, and we knew not where to seek a lodging in the city where we had never been before. But good fortune having brought us to your gate, we made bold to knock, when you received us with so much kindness that we are incapable of rendering suitable thanks. This, madam, is in obedience to your commands, the 54 account I was to give how I lost my right eye, wherefore my beard and eyebrows are shaved, and how I came to be with you at this time. "It is enough," said Zobeide, "you may retire to what place you think fit." The calendar begged the lady's permission to stay till he had heard the relations of his 2 comrades, "whom I cannot," said he, "leave with honor," and that he might also hear those of the 3 other persons in company. The history of the first calendar appeared very surprising to the whole company, and particularly to the Caliph. The presence of the slaves, armed with their scimitars, did not prevent him from saying in a whisper to the vizier, "As long as I can remember, I never heard anything to compare with this history of the calendar, though I have been all my life in the habit of hearing similar narratives." He had no sooner finished than the second calendar began, and addressing himself to Zobeide, spoke as follows.